people buying so much toilet paper. You don't need to wipe your butt that much, okay? Your butt will stay clean. If it gets really dirty, just get in the shower, okay? It's not that important to get toilet paper. It is times like this that I am thankful I learned from a young age that corn dogs do not need to be cooked to be eaten. Guys, will Bitcoin continue to plummet lower? Obviously, the economy is at a very crucial point still. One good sign is that around the world there seems to be a lot of resurgence and recovery. And although this entire thing could play out over a few months, I don't necessarily think that the economy has to drag on or continue dropping that entire time as well. Clearly we see this on the weekly for the Dow Jones Industrial, but with Bitcoin we actually see something very interesting. So we're going to be taking a look at this on the charts today. After Bitcoin bounced at that $3,900, $4,000 level, there's some key areas why that potentially bounced there. Obviously there's an immense amount of support and resistance. And as of right now, Bitcoin isn't technically following the stock market clear as day. Okay, there is clear correlation, but I think over time this is going to separate, and I think we might already be seeing a little bit of it now. Guys, is it possible that Bitcoin continues to drop over the next few weeks? Absolutely, okay? We're going to take a look at some targets and take a look at some charts here as well. But overall, I do want to talk about kind of the positivity coming out and really how nations around the world have been reacting. I think a lot of people agree we might be heading towards a recession. However, it's maybe not as doom and gloom as everyone thinks. On this Bitcoin weekly chart, you can see after smashing right past the 200 week moving average, we got an immediate bounce here at the 300 week moving average. Now, this is kind of unprecedented. This is very drastic. Everyone is aware of that, how serious it is. However, bouncing straight from the 300 all the way basically back up to the 200, guys. That's a very good sign in the short term. Now, what does that mean? Will we get another rally of 1,000 points or so with Bitcoin over the next few days, or are we going to continue to head downwards? As well, Bitcoin did, after bouncing off that 300, shot right back up to this area, which is also the 0.786 on the Fibonacci retracement, coming from the highs of the last bull run, 20,000, okay, measuring down to basically the highs of the bull run in 2013, okay? So all the way down to those highs of about $1,000 US. Now I see a lot of people talking about $1,000 US. We're going to be talking about that as well. Is that even ever a possibility? And currently Bitcoin did, about a day or two ago, break out of this pattern. Just as we actually talked about, it got very volatile. It actually shot back up. And as we mentioned, it was a fake out. It actually went all the way straight down. It's very common with these wild swings to get like a fake out on the initial break, actually finding resistance right at 6,000. Going all the way back down to about 4,400, and so far seeming to get a little bit of a bounce, and you see consolidation. You can see there's somewhat of an uptrend right now, so we're going to be talking about that as well. So guys, make sure to wash your hands, sit on your cheeks, grab some juice, you dirty freaks. Let's do this. Wow, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another update, okay? Very serious stuff going on, and it makes it a little bit harder to do Bitcoin analysis because there's so many factors going on in the world, okay? So many important things, but I actually do have a lot I want to talk about that towards the end of the video, okay? We're going to primarily in the beginning of the video talk more about technical analysis, and then we're going to spend a few minutes kind of just talking about overall what this is looking like from a macroeconomic standpoint, from a lot of different standpoints that are kind of bigger than Bitcoin as of right now. And we want to talk about that, okay? So as usual, if you do want to win this ledger, all you have to do is leave a comment below, guys. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, turn on the dings. Guys, so we can start out here actually on this pattern. I find this interesting. So we're kind of still within this range now of this descending channel that we actually started back in the summer of 2019. Here we are only about 2.5 months away from summer of 2020, okay? And we still basically find ourselves in this channel. Now, I don't think that we're going to be in this very long, and there's some reasons for that. I don't necessarily think we're going to do something like this for very long, but I do think we potentially could get a move up to very max 6,500 before really, if we're going to look for an upside target, I think 6,500 is the perfect and biggest upside target right now. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to go up to 6,500 at all, because right now, obviously with the uncertainty in the markets, there seems to be pressure to really want to continue to some more downside. What's interesting with Bitcoin right now, though, is that you do see some very strong hammer candles so far in the weekly. This is a weekly candle so far. You saw a pretty nice retracement back, actually almost that 200 weekly last week. But clearly right now we're in between the 200-week moving average right here and the 300-week moving average right there. Now, that's, again, guys, without being too obvious, I mean, that's not a great sign, being below the 200-week. Obviously, that's a place we don't want to be. And again, it is 100% due to everything going on in the world right now. It would be silly to say all of this is just about Bitcoin, and I don't even think anyone's even questioning that at this point. Everyone's aware of that. But when we zoom back out and we take a look at these Fibonacci levels, it is actually pretty interesting that we see ourselves right at the 7816. I'm actually curious. I find it interesting that Bitcoin is holding where it currently is. Okay, I honestly could have seen Bitcoin even dropping more when we went all the way down to like really touching into that $3,900 level. At that point, honestly, it was pretty much anyone's guess. We could have gone down to the 2,000, 1,000, okay? And it's still possible that we go back down to 3,000 and we go back down to 2,000. But I'm actually kind of shocked that we're still at the $5,000 level considering, I don't know if everyone's been following this, but what's been going on in traditional markets has been absolutely huge. Basically, every day is a new record of how many points we close below historic lows, okay? We're closing crazier and crazier. We're currently actually much below that pretty significant dip of the end of 2018 going into 2019 when Bitcoin also, maybe coincidentally or not coincidentally, also bottomed around that $3,000, $4,000 level back at the end of 2018, beginning of 2019. Okay, remember that? That's when Bitcoin was also down. You can actually do that in this level here. Same exact time period was also the stock. So again, correlation there again. Okay, pretty obvious. But now we see this. Dow Jones all the way down here about, I think, like 30% from the all-time highs of just literally a month ago. Only a month ago we're at all-time highs. Now we're 30% down. And one thing you notice between these two charts, you can see this is significantly lower than what we got in 2018, 2019. Okay, so traditional markets are significantly more down than they were just about a year and a half ago. Now with Bitcoin, you don't actually see that. It's actually still above. It hasn't gone below the low just yet, okay? Now again, it's still very possible that it could, but it has not done that yet. So there is some correlation, but again, I think over time as well, there will be more trust in Bitcoin, as absolutely there is no trust in the Federal Reserve. There is absolutely no trust in fiat. People are actually panicking they might not be able to get money out of the bank, and that is actually a real possibility. So again, when you can't even guarantee that, how are you supposed to trust that kind of institution, that kind of regulation, that kind of financial system, right? How can you trust that? So very interesting to see there. I think that's important to take a note of. And for right now too, I want to talk about this. So we were talking about this in the last update of this breaking out, and actually within an hour of it of us posting this, we got a break up to about that 6,000, finding some hard resistance right there, and you see the next hourly candle straight back down. Okay, 1 hourly candle straight up, 1 hourly candle straight back down. Actually, for a few hours, tested kind of right in the center of this, and then slowly, hour after hour, kind of just fell back down. But again, very interestingly, finding support right around that 4,500, a little bit higher than the other low again. So while the overall markets do not look good at all, Bitcoin is actually, even though it's getting pummeled along with silver and gold and literally everything else, Bitcoin is still kind of putting in slightly more bullish patterns than some of these other things. Now, this does not mean at all that Bitcoin will not go down to $2,000, guys. That is absolutely a possibility in the next few weeks. We do not know what's going to happen. There's so much uncertainty, and I'd be lying if I told you, 4,000 is this. I mean, we're not going to go lower than this. I wouldn't be able to say that. But what we can obviously say is there's some clear strength in Bitcoin that is not necessarily being replicated in other markets. Currently, it looks as though Bitcoin is struggling again to break above that 5,455 level, 5,400, $5,500 level. You can see it's been testing this for hours here as of yesterday, the 16th, but then also going all the way back to March 13th. It was really just, this was a key area here too. So this level is just seemingly very important for Bitcoin. It really wants to continue. It seems like it wants to actually bounce a little bit higher right now, which I find very interesting. And this is not only for Bitcoin. You see this in a lot of altcoins as well. There's some slight rebounding in the market, and I find this interesting as well. If we do get a pump up to here, guys, this is actually very likely that we could consolidate within this pattern. And again, this could actually push us all the way out to the summer of 2020, so another 3 months, and we could actually see a very nice resurgence and a move up in that time period. Now, again, in that time period, we could even see something like this as well, maybe continue. We could, again, this is more of a bullish scenario that we trade within this level and break up, or even a short-term frame if we're talking about bullish scenarios. But guys, keep in mind, it's also very possible that we could break these lows. We have to keep that in mind because that's when things would get drastic. If we broke $3,000 level, if we went below $3,000, then again, things would be crazy. But you do see, as of right now, even something as simple as the VPVR, you can see this massive amount of volume right here. Okay, that did provide some short-term support, and again, it did not drop significantly below levels comparative to, for example, Dow Jones or the S&P. Okay, they took harder hits, and there's some other companies such as like obviously the airplane cruise ship industry, they're getting hammered. Obviously, guys, we take a zoom out again. This is still remaining a fairly strong level of support, and most importantly here, I find this very interesting. Have we gone down to the 300 weekly moving average before? This chart's actually too small, so this is our longest chart. So if it's going to give us data, it would be on this one, and we don't have as much data 300 weekly moving average to really show that here. We barely have. We began the 200 weekly back at like April of 2014. This one began in March of 2016. And it looks as though, honestly, if this would be extended a little further out, we might have actually gone down to this back in the last pullback here. The last pullback after the bull market of 2013, going from 1,000 all the way down to like 200, even like $150. Okay, so again, not crazy unheard of, and this is actually extremely robust considering what's actually going on. During this time, we weren't having an economic crisis like we potentially are now. So the fact that we're in the middle of a complete global turmoil and Bitcoin is still not necessarily diverging too much is actually pretty impressive, I might say. So guys, with all of that being said, I do want to add just as well, because there's so much uncertainty, everything going on, I just want to say this as well. Things are bad, starting to get a little bad here on the west side of the world, but on the eastern side, there's so much optimism and a lot of recoveries in regards to the current epidemic that we're seeing. And again, we could see this thing end over the next 2 months or so, maybe even before that. I think a lot of the panic is priced in right at the beginning, and I think that adds a lot of stress and a lot of fear. And I think over time, people are going to just get accustomed to it, and I think the markets could easily rebound, specifically Bitcoin and things like that. However, I'm not sure if the traditional, stocks, I think there needs to be a fundamental change there, okay? I don't think the system currently that we have is going to work. And again, that's why I'm very much so on the side of Bitcoin and looking for these other assets. Guys, obviously that's why we talk about it. That's why we're so interested in it, is because we see it as a real solution, a real secondary option and alternative to that, right? Because again, that could not play. I mean, eventually all systems fail, and I think it's time we've been talking about this for a while. A lot of people have. It's very likely that the economy, the Federal Reserve, everything that goes into that, maybe that system is done, okay? Alternatives potentially are the way to go. So I just want to say that as well. I do want to say one of the worst things to do right now is just be incredibly fearful, okay? Maybe at the very beginning, like we saw a week ago, that's understandable. But guys, at this point, we need to be a little more rational, not panic. We see it happening a lot of places. People buying so much toilet paper. You don't need to wipe your butt that much, okay? Your butt will stay clean. If it gets really dirty, just get in the shower, okay? It's not that important to get toilet paper. So no worries there. Everyone should be good with that. And we'll see where this thing goes. As of right now, Bitcoin is looking stronger than other markets. So that's awesome to see. So guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.